Espinoza will lead us in invocation. If you guys can please stand.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lord, for this day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity to be here today to do the business of the city. We ask that you be with us and that you guide and direct us through everything that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, folks, I'm going to look for a motion to approve the agenda. Any changes, modifications?
No changes, no modifications.
All right. I need a motion to approve agenda, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera, second by Councilmember Espinoza. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Olvera,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Gibbons.
Yes. This evening, we do have one item for presentation, correct? Just making sure. We have one item for presentation is a technologies used for city street management and improvements. Hi, Mike.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Traverse City Council. Michael James, Director of Public Works. In response to requests, concerns, and complaints regarding streets and traffic conditions, Public Works has deployed two technologies to help us monitor and document roadway conditions and prioritize new policies and improvements. Tonight, staff would like to present one of those technologies for monitoring traffic conditions, things like speeding, congestion, and traffic volumes. This particular technology is currently in use and accessible to Public Works and the Police Department. Leading tonight's presentation, I believe we have Micah Dickman, Vice President of Urban SDK. Also, we should have Jefferson Court, Enterprise Account Manager with Urban SDK. Now, Urban SDK, for your information, is the company that developed and supports the product you'll be introduced to tonight. And at the end of the presentation, their staff or city staff can respond to any questions or concerns you have. With that, Micah?
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much to the council and to the members of the public that are in attendance for having us this evening. I'm on the West Coast here, so it's a little bit later our time, but I'm certainly very thankful for you guys having us and to allow.
1 second, Micah. We're trying to get some audio fixed on our end. Hold on.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Good to go.
Awesome. Okay. Well, once again, thank you guys. Thank you to the members of the council and to the members of the community that have joined today for allowing us to present tonight and take a little bit of your time. I will do my best to keep this brief for all of you, but make sure to cover the points that are meaningful to the city and that you guys would like to understand about Urban SDK. So quickly, I just want to take you through who Urban SDK is, what we do there for the city, and how we've been partnering with agencies, not just across the country, but there within California as well. So my name is Micah Dickman. I'm the Vice President of Revenue here at Urban SDK. My background is in government administration. I'm a veteran, and then worked for DHS for a little while before coming over and ultimately helping start Urban SDK with the goal in mind of helping serve local government. Myself and the other founding members, we all come from the government space. Started the company 7 years ago out of Jacksonville, Florida. Out of our own community here, the city of Jacksonville was struggling, like many communities across the United States, with quickly being able to ask questions and get answers as to what was going on in the roadway network. Many of those calls to action were derived through public concern or public complaint around speeding related issues, congestion related issues, or safety related issues on the roadway network. And there was no clean or clear way to ask that question and get an answer within 30 seconds without allocating or expending a lot of government resources, taxpayer dollars, to go take a look at these concerns to find out that 70 to 80% of public concerns are perception related issues. So expending a lot of the limited resources that smaller communities across the United States have. With that, through a investment from the Florida Department of Transportation, we developed a program 7 or 8 years ago that allows communities like yours to be able to see speed, volumes, congestion, safety-related metrics down to literally every road within your jurisdictional boundary, every single day, every single hour, 365 days a year. And what this does for our agencies, very similar to your city, is one, when those calls to action are received, those complaints, those concerns, the city staff now has the ability to go in and within 30 seconds to 5 minutes be able to see, is this a inherent issue on the roadway network? Is this a perception issue? Is this something that the city should drive more resources towards? And on the contrary, be more proactive, being able to say, hey, we can see where the highest rates of speed are at on our local roadways. We know, what issues we have seasonally during the school season, so on and so forth, so that they can allocate the correct resources to those areas at the right times to ultimately drive public safety. It really covers 4 major things for the city. The first of which is public concerns and calls to action. As I said, being able to log in and rather than the historical way of dragging a pneumatic tube, a radar feedback sign, sending out a resource, which then can take between 2 and 6 weeks to get a response back to a constituent, they can log into our program and be able to see, is this an inherent issue or is this something that potentially is perception, but at a minimum, get a response back to that constituent in near real time. The second thing is as the community makes changes and makes capital improvement investments within the community, whether that's traffic calming, enhanced enforcement, stopping devices, or making changes to roadways, new land uses opening, there's a cause and effect to that. And being able to quickly track, did we get the desired outcome as a community? Was this an equitable decision? And was it something that, we didn't just put a Band-Aid on it, but we actually solved the problem for the community? The third and most important thing that we have been trying to solve for is public safety, and not waiting until there's a serious injury, a fatality, or a public complaint to take action on that within our communities. We give you the ability to see every day, where are our highest rates of speed? Where are our most dangerous and congested areas? Where does our attention need to go to get ahead of these things? Where can we deploy resources from Public Works and from local law enforcement to make sure that we are driving public safety in the areas that matter? And then last but not least, giving the community, the members of this council, internally within Public Works, easy access to reports that allow you to quickly understand what is going on the network. And these are not engineering summaries, they're data summaries that simply tell you what is going on. With that, I have brought up here a quick report of your community that you're able to see on your screen. Are you guys able to see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And as you can see on the left-hand side of my screen, you have all of your speeds, and this is data on every road within the city limits, average 85th and 95th percentile speeds, speed differentials. So being able to see based off the posted speed limit, where are the highest rates of speed? Where are the areas of concern? Where should we be focusing? Traffic safety. So it's a collision index, basically taking 5 years of historical accident fatalities data there within the community, along with roadway characteristics, observed speeds and volumes, to be able to append a safety score to every roadway, basically saying these areas we should be more cognizant of because we have a higher probability for collisions in these areas. And then traffic volume. So being able to say how many people do use the roadway based off specific days and time periods. Delay, as in congestion, being able to understand during particular public events, maybe on emergency lanes, things of that sort, being able to derive a delay to understand, will this affect our response times? Are we having signal timing issues? So on and so forth. But the principle is giving the city the ability to have this information in near real time down to every single road so that you guys can quickly and effectively enhance your decision making around where the actual concerns are at within the community. With that, if you come into the program and you say that there is a speeding concern or a call to action around a high rate of speed on a particular roadway, as I said, rather than the historical way of fielding that concern from a constituent or from a council member, and then going out, taking hours or weeks of time to then collect the data to come back and say there's nothing going on the roadway. What the members of this council, members of Public Works, and ultimately the members of this community are now enabled to do is to come in and quickly run that analysis by searching any roadway, point of interest, school zone, so on and so forth, for any particular time period to quickly see on this roadway, the rate of speed is 71 miles an hour. On this roadway, you have a rate of speed of 18 miles an hour. The posted speed is 25. And now we can see how that is broken down based off the days of the week and time periods for how we have queried that data. So what we're able to quickly identify here is maybe on Walnut Street, we do not have an inherent issue on the road. The overall rate of speed is 18 miles an hour for the aggregate. But what we can see is we have some higher rates of speed on Mondays during the AM peak. So if we were going to deploy a resource out there, we know the most impactful time to do so would be Mondays during the AM peak to ensure that we're driving public safety. The same principle that I just went over applies to any data set within the tool. So whether that is volumes, speed, travel times, congestion, you can come in here and very quickly be able to identify, here's the breakdown of the average hourly traffic on a particular roadway, the delay, if we wanted to see what was our safety score for any one of these roadways, you'd have the ability to do so. All of our data is provided to the city on 13 months of backfill, so that you can always track seasonality trends. That's continuously archived for the city moving forward, so that at the end of the first year, the city will ultimately have compiled 25 months of data going forward, so that you can always derive trends, be able to see how the community is changing, and then ultimately be able to show proof in the pudding behind the good decisions this council is making, the Public Works Department, and those that are in the decision-making process around capital improvements and things of that sort. With that, I would like to just pause there. I know that we're on a limited time stretch here. I think we were given roughly 10 to 15 minutes to present. I want to make sure that if there is questions from the council or members of the public, that we get those addressed.
All right, council, good time for some questions. Is this the Placer AI database? Like, what, is this something completely different? Help me understand the database that's happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Placer AI is not they're not a competitor of ours. They're mostly focused on site selection. And then they help derive metrics that would drive economic development that are required for land use zoning and development within a community. What we are focused on here is providing traffic analytics that are required for engineering purposes to be able to build, design, identify issues within a community. And it's really for the near real-time operational needs of the city. Placer, I do think they provide some traffic metrics, like how many cars drive past a land use, things of that sort. It's not updated like ours is. Also, it's not going to be provided in a format that allows Public Works, engineering, and PD easy access to data that allows to drive decision making. So kind of a similar concept, I suppose, but very different use, and it's delivered very differently.
I have a couple of questions on the data. Is there a delay on the data capture, or is it live? Like, are you
Yes, sir.
receiving it?
Yes, sir. So we are provided the data in real time in 15-minute aggregates, actually, but to be able to scale it nationally, QA and QC it, make sure that it's accurate and within a reasonable margin of error used for engineering purposes, we have it on a 2-week delay. So it's updated every day. You're able to go in and see 14 days ago every single day. So it's updated and continuously archived.
How far back? I know you mentioned 5 years. Is there like a maximum amount of time, or do you have like only certain time period that you can access in past timeframes?
Yes, absolutely. So we always archive up to 5 years of information within a community nationally. After that, we do keep the data sets. It's just not hot. You couldn't access it right away. But like for the community of Shafter, we've been partnered for 6 months. So at this point, they have compiled because they started out with 13 months worth of data. They've compiled roughly 19 months worth of data. And then if the city decides to continue the partnership over the next year, you would compile another 12 months, and that's continuously archived to the city.
Thank you.
Ties into our GIS. I see the boundaries here, right? So if something modifies or is changed, it ties into our GIS.
Yes, sir. So anything that you're looking at here is based off of your actual shapefile and your links there within the community. All of our data can be extracted and uploaded into your ArcGIS. We're actually working on an API integration to push it. And then any of your GIS files, such as school zones, crash data that may be important to the city, anything that's meaningful that you want to overlay can be uploaded into our system as well. And it operates very similarly to how Arc or Esri would work.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? No, okay.
Mayor, since we took this one a little bit out of order, it'd be prudent at this point to ask if there's any public comment on the matter.
Thank you very much. Give us a second, Micah. Is there any public comment from the folks in the room in regards to what you're seeing here? No, hearing none, seeing none. Okay.
Unless Micah or Jefferson have anything else to add, I will say that this has been in use for the past few months. It doesn't produce engineering reports. I mean, it produces data that we would interpret and bring before you for possible changes or improvements. So we will continue to do that. But I really appreciate your time, and
It's awesome data.
Council, I would just point out this tool, and total kudos to Public Works, because this saves hours of data and lets us be much more responsive overall. But it's something that frankly, Public Works kind of initiated, got going, and it's going to benefit the whole city across the board. So
That's great stuff. No, it's great stuff. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much once again to the members of the public and to the council for allowing us to partner with the city. And it's been an awesome partnership. And thank you so much for all of you giving us some time tonight. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Micah. Jefferson, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
With that said, we slightly out of order, but this is part of the public comments time, so we will continue that. If there's any other public comment that is desired at this time, please come to the podium and speak. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes unless other time is needed for translation. So again, public comment time is open. Please state your name and address for the record. Anything in person? I know we have one that you're going to read, Yasmina. Okay, it's all yours.
Hello, Shafter City Council and Planning Committee. I am Malachi DeWitt. Unfortunately, I am unable to speak live as I am attending school at Cal Poly SLO and have an important lab at this time. Whenever I meet someone new, I am asked my name, major, and where I am from. I always take pride in saying that I am from Shafter. Well, that's usually after saying I am from the Bakersfield area, since not many people can point Shafter out on a map. Growing up in Shafter my whole life has had a profound impact on me. Shafter is not just a town, but a part of my identity. A place where my family lives, where neighbors know each other, and where half of the people on this board probably had permission from my mom to spank me if I acted up as a kid. Even from a county away, I still tune into the Shafter News and keep up to date on the city's future plans. As I watched the last Planning Commission meeting, I was met with an array of emotions. I appreciate the city's efforts to plan for long-term growth, and I'd like to share my thoughts on the vision for Shafter's downtown development. I strongly believe that Shafter has the potential to transform its downtown into a thriving, high-density hub that attracts businesses, visitors, and high-paying white-collar jobs. By implementing a phased approach to redevelopment, Shafter can enhance its urban appeal, encourage economic growth, and improve the quality of life for all residents. Shafter would benefit greatly from high-density housing development in its downtown area. Redeveloping underutilized single-story structures and constructing multi-story apartment complexes offices would increase the residential population and foster economic activity. Concentrating growth downtown would create a customer base for businesses, increase foot traffic, and stimulate demand for retail, restaurants, and entertainment. Encouraging downtown growth would also support our struggling small businesses and reduce economic leakage to Wasco, Bakersfield, and surrounding cities. A denser downtown would also promote walkability and reduce traffic congestion, especially during school hours. Shafter already has amenities within its core, including grocery stores, a library, urgent care, barber shops, restaurants, a court, veterans hall, insurance companies, flower shops, and schools. With a higher population within walking distance, there would be a higher demand for more amenities, which would bring more competitive economic opportunities whilst having fewer cars on the road, alleviating congestion and reducing the need for costly road expansions. From an urban planning perspective, high-density downtown development is cost-effective in terms of city spending. Shafter's current infrastructure consists largely of one-lane roads, including Manal, Tulare, West Lerdo, Central, and Shafter Avenue, which are expensive to expand and maintain. Expanding these roads would make them less safe for pedestrians and increase automobile reliance despite plans for walkable areas outside the city core. Additionally, police patrol and responses to emergencies would be more efficient, potentially reducing crime, saving lives, and money. Cities with well-designed downtowns such as San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Davis have demonstrated that density fosters economic growth and attracts young professionals in entrepreneurship, something Shafter can see more of. Many cities have begun to follow suit from Visalia to Bakersfield, building multi-story living spaces, which have encouraged new high-quality development. With our amazing effective leadership, we must follow these trends and establish a stronghold before Bakersfield, Wasco, Delano, Visalia, and surrounding areas compete for this much-needed growth and jobs. With a larger population base in the central downtown area, there would be increased demand for professional services, such as real estate offices, insurance agencies, agricultural firms, and engineering firms. A greater business presence would generate higher tax revenues, allowing the city to reinvest in infrastructure, public parks, community services, and public safety. This development strategy would create a positive cycle of growth, increasing investor interest and reducing reliance on commuting to Bakersfield for work. A thriving downtown would further be supported by the upcoming 42-acre sports and recreation center, which has the potential to attract regional and state-level competitions. A well-developed downtown would encourage visitors attending sporting events to explore local shops, restaurants, and entertainment, thereby increasing foot traffic and local spending, all while parking their car once. This influx of visitors would boost tax revenues and create demand for hotels, dining, and retail businesses within the city. Shafter is a city of big dreams, and our history proves it. The wonderful logistics park was one such visionary project, demonstrating our commitment to strategic growth and economic success. With a booming agricultural industry and growing professional presence, Shafter would be a place that accommodates business travelers and professionals, somewhere they want to visit, to do business, and stay. Investing in high-density housing and commercial development in downtown Shafter is a forward-thinking approach that will enhance economic vitality, create a more walkable and attractive urban center, leave room for farmland, and provide long-term financial benefits for the city. Unfortunately, current plans do not make me optimistic. Instead, give me a sense that Shafter will never have that small-town feel with its sprawled-out neighborhoods, busy wide roads, and lack of walkability/bikeability with a desolate downtown. As Mayor Chad Givens and Councilwoman Kathy Prout mentioned in the last meeting, how will we be able to tie the city together to these stretches of development? The short story is, we won't. From my personal experience with visiting Gossamer Grove, I will feel intrusive on the residents in a closed-off, segregated neighborhood. As I close and Cinco de Mayo is around the corner, I invited my roommates to see the parade last year, and to my shock, they loved it and are planning to come this year. The people performing and celebrating downtown is a special feeling, something that can't be replaced in some master plan community. Our downtown is the heart of our city, our culture. It is a center place for people of every neighborhood to visit. If our city plans on increasing density, please consider plans on inviting and helping investors to revitalize Shafter's downtown, not Lerdo Highway, so that we can continue to share our culture with people who want to be a part of it. Sincerely, Malachi DeWitt.
Once again, Malachi, thank you for writing that. I know that was said at Planning Commission as well, so thank you again for writing in on that. Any other public comments? Okay. With that said, at this time, public comment time is closed. I'm going to look to our council for some council announcements and reports. Councilmember Prout, we'll start with you this evening.
Hey, I have a few things to mention. The first week of March was Read Across America in recognition of Dr. Seuss, and so I was fortunate to be asked to read at Redwood School as well as Grove Academy. I was also at Sequoia School, which students really respond well, and I appreciate being invited. Also, we attended a free car seats and safety check that was held here at Stringham's Park. And it was sponsored or led by Assemblywoman Dr. Jasmine Bain, as well as the Kern County Health Department participated, and many people came, had to wait because it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to check each individual car, and they had to have their young children with them in order to match and check the safety with the car seats. I believe it was very successful too. Also attended the downtown street fair and the market that was held a week ago Friday. Nice attendance, nice evening. Also, we had a grand opening for the what's called B Mobile, which is part of the Verizon telephone network, and I was honored to be able to present and welcome a certificate to the Shafter group that's opened the business now here in Shafter. It's out on Laredo Highway in the strip right opposite from Tin Cup or the theater. Also, I want to remind everyone, we do have this big event coming in Wasco, and we're being invited to attend. It's the World Bipolar Day. It's going to be held on Sunday, March the 28th, from 11 to 4, and they're certainly wanting all of us to participate and to be involved, and maybe we'll see you there and spend some time in Wasco. Thank you.
To confirm, that's Sunday, March 30th, right?
No, March 28th. I have March 28th.
It's the 30th. Thank you very much. That's Sunday, March 30th for that event. That'll be in
It is
Moscow.
30th, yes, you're right.
All right. Councilmember Espinoza?
On the 5th, I also did attend the Read Across America at Redwood Elementary. I got to read to a kindergarten class and a third grade class, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. On Friday, the 7th, I did attend the free car seat safety check at which park? Is it?
Stringham's.
Stringham's Park. Stringham's Park, right there on Laredo and James Street. Is it James Street?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Laredo and James Street. I was surprised by the turnout. It was a great turnout. There was a lot of people there, and a lot of people were getting their car seats adjusted and fit to their children and their vehicles. So that was great. On Thursday, the 13th, I also attended the Shafter Verizon grand opening, the mobile phone store right there on Laredo Highway. And that would look like a nice event. I'd like to welcome them to the city. And today I attended a KernCog 101 training session here at City Hall, just to find out a little bit more about the KernCog and what it is that they do and how they conduct their business. Mayor Givens, I would like to make one request. I'd like to ask the city manager and the city attorney if they could look into city council conduct and procedure in dealing with staff, employees, and citizens. You could look into that and maybe give us some insight or some direction on that.
Sure, it's typical of city councils to adopt their own protocols and procedures because you're a charter city. It would be probably prudent to also sort of see how they relate to the city charter and how some of the enforcement mechanisms of the charter play out with respect to council conduct and procedures. So we can certainly bring back some examples for you to take a look at and then get some direction from you as to whether or not you want to pursue something like that.
I presume you need a general consensus on it? Yeah, I'll give you the general. Yeah, you got general on that one.
We'll
Thank you.
do the research and then bring that back at a future agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Olvera, sir.
I don't have anything, thank you.
You made that relatively easy. A lot of stuff happening. So that car seat event was full enough, Chief, that they started early, right? Trying to get people out of the road because it wrapped around for a little bit and caused a little bit of, well, just about caused some traffic issues. So Great turnout from them. I believe you got some train the trainers that are happening through that. So really happy with what Kern County put together, as well as Dr. Jess McBain's office. So a lot of fun on that one. And a huge kudos to everyone who helped out with First Fridays. From all of you guys at city staff, from PD, Public Works, David, Rachel, and the entire team who put everything together. That was actually a really, really nice event. A lot of good feedback from it. I think we have got a good chance to see some good growth from it. So really, really happy with what's happening there. All right. With that said, I'm going to move into our consent calendar. Tonight on consent calendar, there are 10 items up for discussion.
Do I need to stop him at, I want
Let me
to
read-
pull
let
number
me-
10. Do I pull it now or later?
Let me read through them first and then go ahead and pull after that, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Again, let me read through these 10 items. Item number 1 is to approve general checks. Number 2 is to approve payroll. Number 3, approving minutes. Number 4, adopt resolution 3009 and direct staff to submit to State Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation for the State Department of Housing and Community Development and Kern Council of Governments. Number 5, adopt ordinance number 763 for revised tentative track number 7244. Number 6, approve the final map for track number 6614, phase 1. Number 7, approve the renewal of the Juniper annual support contract in the amount of $11,214.44. Number 8, adopt resolution 3010. Number 9, approve a bid proposal submitted by AZCO or ASCO Supply for the purchase of 29 replacement streetlight poles and 16 light head assemblies in the amount of $53,419.08. And lastly, number 10, adopt ordinance number 764. Now would be the time. Questions, comments, or concerns, council?
Yes, could we pull it?
Okay, I have a request to pull
10.
consent calendar item number 10, and we can move that into management report number 1, if that is fine. Everyone good on that, council? All right, make a quick note. Move. Give me a second, folks. Okay. Again, we're gonna look for an approval on an amended consent calendar, taking item number 10 and moving it to management report item number 1. I need approval for an amended consent calendar.
I'd like to move we approve 1 through 9.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Prout, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera. Again, that is for an amended consent calendar, moving item number 10 to management report number 1. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Olvera,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Given.
Yes. Amended. Okay. All right, with that said, this evening, we do have one item on our public hearing. That item on our public hearing is for the Community Facilities District number 0816, public hearing and election. Mr. Gonzalez, good to see you here, sir.
Good to see you as well.
Now or later? Okay, I need to excuse myself because I live within 500 feet.
Gotta give me a chance to breathe. Oh, I love you, Marco. Love it. Sir?
All right. You ready, Yasmina? Okay. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, track 6614, also known as Orchard Park, which is located east of Beach Avenue between Tulare and Fresno Avenue, was conditioned to create a maintenance district to fund operation and maintenance of certain public improvements throughout the track, things such as, landscaping, parks, block walls, street lighting, and other public facilities. So these improvements are proposed to be maintained through a community facilities district or CFD. It's very similar to the lighting and landscape districts that we've been using in the past, but has a few nuances of difference, but essentially does the same function. With that, on February 4th, the City Council did approve a resolution declaring its intention to form CFD 0816 and set a public hearing on the formation for tonight's meeting. The developer, LGI Homes, is intending to construct 229 residential homes. The estimated cost for operating and maintaining the included public facilities is approximately $126,000. And this results in a per lot rate of $553 per year. That cost is subject to change. It can be increased every year in conjunction with the CPI up to, but not to exceed 4%. So we can raise that if the CPI warrants that. So the city clerk and the property owner have consented to hold the election on this date. And so as we move forward with the requested action, it would be to conduct the public hearing. Following the public hearing, absent of a majority protest, conduct a special landowner election on the propositions of levying a special tax and setting an appropriations limit, and also to conduct the first reading of ordinance 765 by title only. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Okay, first thing first, with that said, this is a public hearing, so at this time, we're going to open it up for any public comment that is to be made on the formation of the Community Facilities District number 0816. Public comment is open. I will formally ask in this moment, is this 229 homes phase one, or is that both phases?
That would be both phases.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, any public comments? Hearing none, seeing none, having none.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize for the interruption. My name is Rich Wall. I'm the city's legal counsel online attending the public hearing here. I just wanted to ask, there is a script for the public hearing and I may have missed it. I apologize if you open the public hearing, but we would want to open the hearing, allow for the public comment. And then after that's done, we can close the hearing and move on to the adoption of the resolution. So again, apologize for the interruption, but if we could just make sure we open the public hearing, that would be great. Thank you.
When the magic voice comes from nowhere, we don't see a face. Yes, sir, that is happening in this case. Thank you. All right. With that said, any other public comment on this matter? Hearing none, seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of this. With that said, has notice of public hearing been mailed and published according with law?
Yes, notice was mailed and published in accordance with law.
Okay. I will now call on staff for a report regarding the formation of the Community Facilities District. Okay, which is received and filed. All right, with that said, have any protests been received regarding the formation?
No written protests have been received.
Okay, are there any persons registered to vote in the territory of CFD number 0816?
The County of Kern Register of Voters has certified that there are no registered voters within the territory.
Okay, have all the owners of all the taxable property in CFD number 0816 consented to holding the special election on March 18th, 2025 tonight?
Yes.
Immediately following the public hearing? Yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, do you concur that the special election may be held tonight, March 18th, 2025, immediately following the public hearing?
Yes, I concur.
Okay, very good. There has been no testimony or protest received or heard, and we are prepared to close public hearing. Again, just one more time, we would like to submit any written or oral comments on our final opportunity to do so. Once it's closed, it is closed, and at this time, public hearing is closed. With that said, I am calling for a motion and a second to approve the following, the resolution of the City Council of the City of Shafter establishing the City of Shafter Community Facilities District number 0816 in the County of Kern, State of California, and the boundaries thereof. I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. We got a few of these folks, so bear with us. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera and a second by Councilmember Espinoza. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Espinoza,
Yes.
Olvera,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes, and once again, want to clarify, for conflict purposes, Councilmember Prout is out on these. So, item number 2, I'm looking for a resolution, a motion and a second to approve the following resolution, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Shafter, calling a special election and submitting to the voters of the City of Shafter Community Facilities District number 0816 in the County of Kern, State of California, a proposition with respect to the annual levy of special taxes within the said Community Facilities District to pay the cost of certain services to be provided by the Community Facilities District, and a proposition with respect to establishing an appropriations limit for said Community Facilities District. I need a motion and a second on that, please.
I'll first.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Espinoza, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Espinoza,
Yes.
Olvera.
Yes.
And Givens.
Yes. All right. Lastly, for the special elections, please. City Clerk?
I have conducted and canvassed the special election. All votes are cast all votes cast are in favor of the ballot measures and therefore both of the ballot measures pass.
Okay, very good. I'm going to look for a motion in a second to approve the following resolution. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Shafter declaring the results of the special election for the City of Shafter Community Facilities District Number 0816, County of Kern, State of California, on the propositions with respect to the annual levy of special taxes to pay the cost of certain services to be provided by the Community Facilities District and establishing an appropriations limit. I need a motion and a second for that, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera, second by Councilmember Espinoza. Call, please.
Councilmember Espinoza,
Yes.
Olvera,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes. Lastly, I need a motion and a second to waive the first reading by title only. The ordinance of the City Council of the City of Shafter acting in its capacity as a legislative body of the City of Shafter Community Facilities District Number 0816, County of Kern, State of California, authorizing the levy of a special tax in such community facilities district. Need a motion and a second on that,
I'll
please.
motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Espinoza, second by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Espinoza,
Yes.
Olvera,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes, and once again, that is the final conclusion for the formation of CFD number 0816, and that will conclude our public hearing. If you can please bring back Councilmember Prout. Thank you, sir. Mr. Gonzalez, thank you for your time.
Thank you, council.
And Voice from the Sky, thank you for your time as well. Who was that?
You're welcome, Mayor. It's Rich Wall with BB&K, the city's legal counsel. I again apologize for the interruption.
No, you're okay. We didn't
have a
see it
good
on the
evening.
screen.
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
have a good evening.
Kind of caught me off guard. Not gonna lie, I was like, Gotcha. I'll write all that down later at a different time. Okay, with that said, we are moving into our management reports. There are 3 items for management report this evening. We're going to start with the first one real quick. This is from consent calendar item number 10 that has been moved to the management report item number 1, the adoption of ordinance number 764. And I'm going to ask, got it, sir. Thank you.
I've got this one. So background on this one, on March 4th, 2025, City Council introduced ordinance number 764, which proposed amendments to the salary and benefits available to members of the City Council. City Council discussed the proposed ordinance, made a change to the language of subsection F, and then voted to waive a further reading, read by title only, and introduce ordinance number 764. The change made at the first reading is now reflected in the attached ordinance and can be considered for second reading and adoption. If passed, the ordinance will become effective within 30 days.
There was a request to pool. Anything you'd like to say on that, ma'am?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone, we talked about this before, as you heard. And I believe that we need to remember that council isn't a full-time position. Council members serve, I believe, should be focused on service to our community. I believe that it certainly isn't a political position. I also feel that members also, remember, receive expenses for room and board, travel, and any other expenses whenever we do have to attend something that costs with city participation. Another thing I'd like to point out is that Shafter's population is well below the mid-size range, and to me, doesn't warrant having a huge increase in salary or a stipend, whatever you want to call it. So this time, I'd like to ask that we delay the increase of the stipends at this point.
Okay, if any other questions, comments, or concerns from council, please state now. Otherwise, I'm going to look for a motion in a second on the approval of consent calendar number 10 in this moment.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Hold on, folks. I have a motion by Councilmember Espinoza, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera for approval of consent calendar item number 10. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Prout,
No,
Olvera,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes. Okay, with that said, item number on the agenda, which shows item number 1 for management report. This is the fiscal year 2023-2024 financial results. Sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. Roger Sanchez, Finance Director. I wanted to give you a brief summary of the financial results for fiscal year 23-24. And I also want to inform you that on the next council meeting on March 1st, the auditors will present to you a brief presentation. We expect to have a clean opinion, a clean audit for this fiscal year. Getting prepared, I wanted to give you a brief summary as to how the numbers look. A lot of the enterprise funds on water and sewer, will be discussing that later with Public Works Director. So my focus will be mainly on general fund. I'll provide a brief discussion and presentation on citywide results, general fund, and internal service funds. And as previously mentioned, we'll have a meeting on next council meeting for the presentation from the auditors. So on the citywide operating expenses by category, this is a summary of where we landed at the end of the year. It provides a listing of cost by category: labor cost, plant operations, utilities, internal charges. Any special adjustments, it's falls under debt. There's no debt payments other than some related to wastewater. Then we have a special agreements on the bottom. We have on the left side the budgeted, when we budgeted, revised budget, and then the where we landed on the actuals. We have a variance between the budget and the actuals. We have a comparisons, we compared to the previous years, and you can see the changes with an increase of $2.4 million on labor cost, or 16% increase. On the right side, we do see a growth rate per category. On the labor, plant operations, utilities, as you can see, the top sections have been growing over the last 6 years or so. This right side growth rate, if you were to expand that, how would that look like if we could visualize that? That's what this would look like. That's what this chart is on your screen. It provides a breakdown of the labor costs, materials and services, business incentives, internal charges, and total operating cost. So this is how that would look like throughout 6 years. Now notice that it might look like in 23-24, it has a decrease in expenses. However, this is mainly because of the special agreements related to sales taxes. If you note, on the labor cost, there's been increases. On M&O, it's been increases, and also on internal charges. The next table provides citywide labor cost by department. So you can visualize the budget versus the actual, comparisons to the previous year, which is $2.4 million increase. And then you can see the different departments changes. Now I'll focus more on the general fund results. I had previously shown you this for information purposes, the revenues, expenditures, and the net surplus at the end of the fiscal year 23, and then at the end of fiscal year 24. So we see an increase in the first year of 8.1 million, and then $10.6 million. Now, if we start with the fund balance at the end of year 22, we have a general fund balance of $59 million. Once we add the surplus of fiscal year 23 of 8.1 million, and then $10.5 million, for a total ending fund balance in the general fund of $77.97 million for the general fund. So this is how the increases, the surplus is accumulated to our savings in the reserves. Now, keeping in mind that we still have capital projects to be expensed in the upcoming fiscal year, so we will need those funds. This is historical fund balance. As you notice, the $78 million, that's the most recent on fiscal year 23-24. And you can see how it's been growing from the past. So it's been another good fiscal year. Now that's going to change slightly because of the decrease that we expect on sales taxes. But we ended up in a good standing at the end of the year. Like I said, it was a good result for the general fund. However, that's not the case for the enterprise funds, and that's the reason why we'll be discussing in more detail after this presentation. Now, this general fund, we see the total revenues, operating revenues, and operating expenses, budget compared to the actuals, and we also compare to the previous year. On the bottom section, we see the operating expenses, and you can see the growth rate on the different categories on labor costs, plant operations, utilities, and internal charges. We also have a special agreements on sales tax agreements with the decrease with the changes that we made recently. Now, I'll have a brief summary on internal service funds. We have 4 internal service funds, and what happens with those, we accumulate those costs, and that's the main reason why we have internal service charges, because those are internal departments. They're like internal companies where they provide services. We have the facilities maintenance, the shop, the risk management, where we purchase the property insurance, and information technology. So we have the revised budget compared to the actuals, and then the change, year-over-year change, and also on the growth rate on the right side, where facilities maintenance had significant increases. This is mainly because we've centralized the operations from other departments into facility maintenance, and we also had a lot of repairs recently. We also have some increases on information technology. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Go ahead, sir, if you have questions.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Roger, on page 5, I see the from 14-15 from 56.3 to 78.0. Do we know how much population we've grown in that time? Do we have any numbers on that?
On which slide is that?
I'm saying from years 14-15 up to 23-24. Do we have an idea how much the city has grown in that part of time? On page number 5, I'm just looking at the graph, and I'm seeing that it's pretty much a steady increase. But I'm wondering if we have an idea the growth of the city in that period of time.
I could get you that information. Are you looking into this chart? Is that?
I'm just kind of going off your graph here.
Oh, the chart. Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah, I can provide that information. I don't have it with me. Part of the reason why it increased on the fund balance is there's been an increase on investments, and that is we've invested the money. We have high returns. Interest rates have gone up recently. That's one of the reasons. Also, we've enjoyed a huge increase on property taxes, especially from the wonderful industrial park in that area. That's been significant. Also, the permits because of growth, housing and warehouses, fees on those areas in the general funds have also increased.
That was kind of my curiosity, is to see how, I know the figures are changing and all that and things are increasing, but I was wondering what our population is increasing with that, so we can kind of get an idea, what the population was back in 14-15 versus what it is in 23-24 or presently.
Okay. Yeah, I can give you that. On the next meeting, the audit will present that and I can give you a brief, feedback on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe we were around 17,000 in 2014. It's been a 6-ish thousand person increase since then.
Okay.
7,000 people.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I may be a little bit too simple, but I just would like to see that number as we see the numbers of how everything increasing and stuff like that. So just got to get a feel for how the city is growing along with our expenditures and money amounts.
Roger, if I could intercede here, sorry, council member, there are two census data points that are responsive to this, the 2010 and 2020. 2010 census had a population, or the 2010 for Shafter was 16,988. 2020 had a census population here, our benchmark of 19,953. And we know that doesn't account for probably 2,800 or so residents out in Cosmer Grove as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
I was really close with those numbers. Yeah. Any other questions or comments, council? Okay, very good. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, this is just for informational only, so there's no approval, there's no acceptance and holding of the documentation, so that is just for informational only. That'll lead us into item number 2 on our management reports. Item number 2 is the utility service rate plan update.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, Michael James, Director of Public Works. Staff here is here tonight to present an update on the utility rate study that's been underway for the past several months, and it's actually wrapping up right now. This presentation is a collaboration with Public Works, the Finance Department, as well as Revtellis Financial Consultants, our rate study consultant. I'm going to start off with a little background, what we're doing and how we got here. The city owns and operates 2 utilities that are funded by service rates, which are water and wastewater. There are an additional utility that shows up on some utility bills is solid waste collections. But that service actually, as you know, is provided by franchise waste haulers, and the rates are determined by franchise hauling agreements. The last rate adjustment for water and wastewater went into effect. The last rate adjustment went into effect July of 2021. And it was the 5th of a 5-year rate restructuring plan that was adopted by the council in 2017. So the rates that went into effect in 2021 are still in effect now. Revtellis Financial Consultants was awarded a professional services contract in 2023 to perform a rate study. And with their assistance, staff presented the preliminary results of the financial planning used to ultimately recommend rates last July. So one of the topics covered during that most recent presentation was the financial challenges we're facing in the water and wastewater funds. Specifically, the revenues are not keeping pace with costs, notably our obligations for labor, regulatory compliance, and electrical services. These challenges become more severe when we face the reality of capital improvements, replacing infrastructure such as wells, tanks, meters, and fire hydrants. To address these challenges, staff developed a plan that balances the need to meet our obligations while minimizing the economic impact to our residents and businesses. We're classifying this plan as a recovery plan to put the enterprises in adequate financial shape. We're foreseeing that this recovery plan will take 8 to 10 years because of the presumed desire to minimize the impact of these rates, particularly on the front end. So this plan assumes that we'll be deferring capital improvements as long as possible and borrowing when required to make sure the utilities stay in the black. The first phase of this recovery plan could consist of adopting a new 5-year rate plan, which is the maximum length or the maximum number of consecutive years we can have consecutive increases. So with that, I'm going to hand off the presentation, the next few slides at least, to Brian Bass of Rotellus Financial Consultants, who's going to be covering the cost forecasts and the revenues required to cover those costs. Brian?
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Brian Bass. I'm a manager here with Rotellus, and I was the project manager on this engagement. I want to thank you for your time this evening. So with this rate study, we did a few different items here. We calculated water and wastewater financial plans, where we took the city's their actual budget information. We looked at historical expenses and revenues. And from that budget, we worked with the city to come up with how those expenses would be forecast in the future. So we looked at the projected expense revenue requirements for operations and capital, and then we compared that to revenue at existing rates. And when we do the comparison, that's how we can determine if any future rate increases are needed to meet those revenue requirements while also achieving the city's fiscal goals, such as debt service coverage requirements, which are necessary for financial health, where you take your revenues minus your operating expenses, and you divide that by your total debt service. You want that to be greater than 100%. A good target, I think the one that we have at the city is 115%. And then another target is the reserve fund balance for the operations and for the capital target. So we want to make sure that we're achieving those two fiscal targets in addition to meeting those revenue requirements. And then another component of the rate study was a cost of service analysis to make sure that we're in compliance with Proposition 218, to make sure that the rates that are being implemented by the city have a relationship to the cost that those customers are bearing. So this first chart that you see here on the left is a projection of the ending fund balance, and we're showing 10 years here because, just like Mike said, the strategy was to do more of a recovery plan so that we wouldn't have rate increases that would achieve all of those goals here in the beginning. Because you can see, when we look at this bar chart on the left here, that even with the 9% rate increases in fiscal year 26 and 28, we're still just under that target that we want to be at. And so the thought is to minimize those rate increases and to gradually come up to meet those targets, instead of a quick ramp up in the beginning where there would be quite a bit of a spike. And so then, as you can see, we're consistently hitting those reserve targets here in 29 and throughout the ending of the forecast period. And this also gives the city more ability to fund capital projects in the future as those different needs occur. And then on the right is a graphical illustration of the financial plan that we have put together. And so the blue bars, those are the operating expenses. And you can see how those are trending upward. And then the debt service, there's a little bit of debt service that's being taken on from some of the capital projects in the future, not much. And then you can see there's some rate funded capital, because we are projecting to use a mix of cash and debt to fund those projects. And so the yellow line without any rate increases, you can see, is below all of those bars throughout the forecast period. And then that dark gray line, it would be the revenue bar with the rate increases. And so that just shows that over time, with these rate increases, the city would be able to meet those revenue requirements, and the projected rate increases that Mike was just talking about over the next 5 years would be 3 years of 9% potentially, and then you better lower that down to 4% in the outer years in fiscal year 29 and fiscal year 30. Next slide, please. And so we did the same thing on the wastewater side. Wastewater had a different set of challenges because of the wastewater treatment plant expansion. It's roughly a $50 million project, and it would put, without the rate increases, it would put quite a bit of financial pressure on the utility. And so the goal here is to ramp up and save some money so that the city can use a mix of cash and debt to finance the projects in the future. And you can see in fiscal year 29, there's roughly $37 million there, but by the end of the 10-year period,
you can see how we're using that fund balance, that money that was saved to offset those wastewater treatment plant costs that'll be shared by the city and still meet the fiscal goals and targets. And so that gives the city the ability to use cash and debt and not have to exclusively debt finance their portion entirely. And then the financial plan on the right is just another graphical illustration, just like on the water side, where you can see the operating expenses there. Those are the light blue bars, and then you can see where in fiscal year 29, where that new debt service is coming on for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. And so the rate increases are also helping to make sure that you're meeting your debt service coverage requirements that will be associated with any debt that you would use for that. And you can see with the yellow line, you would be below all of those bars, all of those revenue requirements. Really beginning in fiscal year 26, you would start to draw down on that fund balance without the rate increases. And so initially, you're building up, that gray line is covering all those revenue requirements, and then in fiscal year 29, that's where you start to offset, which could potentially be large rate increases and pretty dramatic spikes, but you're able to offset that and use that fund balance to mitigate those larger rate increases in the future by being proactive now and looking forward to this now. So next slide, please. And so with that, we put together some bill impacts. When you think of rate increases, the first thing I think about as a customer myself is, what does that mean dollar-wise for my wallet? And so we put together some different usages for water. So a low usage customer, it would be about a $5 increase in their bill for that's first year's increase. And you could see the graphical illustration there, that far left, that figure there. And then average use would be about a $6 increase in that bill. And then for a high use customer, it'd be closer to a $7 increase. And so that's what those percentages translate into, is about a $5 to $7 increase in the typical bill. Next slide, please. Then we also did the same thing for sewer. We wanted to put together a range of different customer classes to kind of show you what those increases would be for your typical customers. Again, this was a 15% increase, and you can see that translates to about a $5 increase for a single family residential customer. And for some different customer classes, like for a fast food restaurant, that's about an $8 increase, all the way up to like a car wash with about 4 stalls. Would see their bill increase by about $30. And then the bar chart on the bottom is just a graphical illustration of the table up above. Next slide, please. And then we also put together a comparison of what the rate increases mean when you look at the share of wallet. When I say share of wallet, it's kind of the combined bill, water and sewer. And you can see right now existing, when you compare the city of Shafter with some of its neighbors, city Shafter is on the low end of the spectrum compared to the neighbors. And then with this first year rate increases, Shafter would still be in the middle of the pack at $95.18. And one thing that this doesn't factor into is a lot of these communities are also going through rate increases themselves and increasing rates too. It's something that every utility is facing, not only in California but nationally, and so that's something that to think about as well, is that not only is Shafter going up a little bit here, but these other communities, what it doesn't show is that their rates are likely increasing too. And with that, I will thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Brian. I'd like to close the presentation with the forecasted schedule to put a new rate plan into effect. As early as this month, staff would like to have the notices prepared, written notices of a required Prop 218 protest hearing. We're targeting this May for a public workshop ahead of the protest hearing to address concerns, answer questions the public may have, and targeting the hearing for June. But ultimately, the 45-day notice, the written notice of the hearing, dictates when the hearing can take place. But you could expect the hearing to occur as early as June. So with that, we're hoping that regardless of of how the schedule plays out exactly. We're hoping to put the rates in a position to be in effect this July or the start of next fiscal year. And with that, Brian or I or someone else from the Public Works Department can respond to questions or concerns you may have.
Thank you, Mike. I do have a question. The slide for water bill impacts on a 3/4 inch meter or smaller. Yeah, so I'm not mathing right. That's on a 9%. Correct? So if I take the current bill at $50.41, 9% of that bill, correct? That would equate to $4.54 has an increase, not $5.29. So I'm just trying to understand what I'm missing. And that goes to each one of them. So I don't know where that 9% comes across on. And then this is not a year over year. So this is only showing us first year. What?
Year one, correct.
Yeah, what does that look like at year 5?
Well,
Because
we're estimating, I don't have the exact numbers, but we're projecting approximately a 40% increase over a 5-year period for water.
wow.
And then sewer would be 75%. And just for some perspective, it was made public that Bakersfield's considering a 300% increase to their sewer fund, their sewer rates to address the same types of issues that we're trying to address. And their water rates were also likely to go up approximately 40%. So we're not alone.
No, I saw that. Mhm.
And I wanted to clarify, there's talk about the wastewater treatment plant expansion. The enterprise is participating in that project only because the plant is going to be not only expanded, but it's going to be completely rebuilt. So much of that project, not even most of it, like a percentage of that project is just general O&M replacement work. So these rates are not subsidizing the new development and expansion of the plant. They're participating in a project that will expand the plant, but also rebuild existing equipment and existing machinery. And the development impact fees we're also working on will participate in the expansion part of that project.
What is current capacity of the sewer treatment plant?
Combined, it's 7.5 million gallons per day that we share with North of the River Sanitary District. Our 1/3 share per the Joint Powers Agreement is 2.5 million gallons per day. And we're currently at about 1.5 million gallons per day. We're using a 1.5 of our 2.5 million capacity.
And so the capacity of the plant is 7.5.
We're working towards 10, with this new project that's being designed right now. And could break ground within the next couple of years. So North of the River, the lead operator of the plant on our behalf is pursuing an expansion to 10 million gallons per day to accommodate us and Oildale and parts of Bakersfield.
Current percentage of usage against that 7.5 million for all 3 operators combined, or all 3 inlets, right? There's 3 different groups on that, right?
There's only 2 owners.
Oh, okay.
And, but North of the River services Oildale and parts of Bakersfield.
So out of the 7.5 million capacity, what is the current usage out of that?
We're approximately 5.5.
5.5. So how much time do we have left on that last 2 million?
It depends. I mean, it's North of the River needs it more than we do. I think they're growing. We have much more surplus capacity than they do. So in fact, they're driving this expansion ahead of our projected schedule. So, but nonetheless, per the Joint Powers Agreement, we have to decide if we want to participate in the project.
Okay.
And if so, what percentage? We don't have to exercise our 1/3 right, but we probably should, just because as we've shared with you in the past, that costs are only going to go up, and we don't want to be in a position where
You're in
the
the
capacity and North of the River is not motivated to do a project.
I was going to add one more thing as well. In the first year that the rates are shown, so it's a 9% total revenue that needs to be increased. So in the first year, the cost of service analysis is used to calculate the rates, and so the different rates may go up at different levels. So for different meter sizes, it's not. We don't take the 9% and do an across the board rate increase that first year. Those are all calculated within the cost of service. And then after the first year, then it's just that annual increase that's just applied to it. So that's why in the first year, the cost of service, the adjustments are always a little bit different depending on the meter size, depending on which customer. And so that's why if you look at that, it might not be exactly at the 9% in the first year, but then after that, it's just an across the board. You just take the rate and you multiply it by it. But in that first year, you're actually calculating what that rate would need to be based on how those costs are occurred. And so that's why it looks a little bit different in that first year.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. Was the cost savings of PG&E due to the solar systems that are in place? Was that taken into consideration?
Yes, yes, we're, the benefit of solar is we still have a PG&E bill. I mean, the solar is not generating enough electricity to meet all of our needs at the water sites. But the good thing about the solar is that it stabilizes our increases, that we're not subject to the same, double-digit increases or whatever PG&E is going up to. Our rates we have increases, but they're much more steady. But yet that was factored into our analysis. And in fact, we had a meeting with PG&E. We have an annual meeting with PG&E where they go over forecasted rate increases and impacts for the upcoming year. And it looks like rates are going to be holding pretty steady, if not maybe even decrease this coming year.
Okay, thank you.
Just trying to figure out the math here. Thank you for attempting to clarify that. I don't think it quite clarified it for me. So I assume we'll have more questions. I would urge folks, if you have questions about this, please make your questions very public, very known, because conversation matters in these situations. And I think there's a lot of conversation to wrap around this. Okay. Again, folks, this is management report for receiving for presentation from city staff and recommendations for future schedule. Do we need to? We don't need it. I mean, there's nothing to approve for schedule. Schedule is what it is. Okay, thank you. With that said, there's no other items on the docket for our management reports. I'm going to move into our city manager comments and reports, sir.
No comments, no reports.
Okay, department director comments and reports.
No department director comments or reports.
Okay, with that, we're going to move into closed session, recess into closed session. We have one item on our docket for an existing litigation with, in regards to the Williams-Sonoma DTC case. With that said, I need a motion and a second to move into closed session.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Proud, a second by Councilmember Espinoza. All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Hearing none. Closed session at 7:17 p.m. Okay, we are back from our closed session meeting, and I'm going to look to our city attorney to close us out, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier tonight, City Council recessed into closed session. All members were present except for Councilmember Alvarado, who has an excused absence. There was one matter on the agenda, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to the case is the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration petitions of City of Alameda, the Williams-Sonoma matter. With respect to that item, City Council heard a update on that matter from special counsel and legal counsel, and we have no reportable action.
Okay, with that said, nothing left on the docket. I need a motion and a second for adjournment.
A motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Espinoza, second by Mayor Pro Tem Olvera. Roll call vote, please. I'm sorry. All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, same